Thank you, Giovanni, and other organizers. I'm Takahiro Moriyama from Kyoto University. Today, I'd like to talk about how antiferromagnetic domains evolve in terms of experiments and simulations. So we basically did an experiment on the nickel domain by the XMLD-PEEM and observed the domain evolution with a high strong magnetic field. We then tried to establish a novel simulation methodology to reproduce the domain evolution of this nickel oxide. Okay. So first, I'd like to acknowledge our collaborators. This work has been done in collaboration with Giovanni's group. Sorry. Okay. And Springate, the synchrotron facility in Japan, and the Tohoku University high field laboratories. Okay. So the antiferromagnetic spintronics is one of the exciting branches of the spintronics field. And comparing to the ferromagnetic materials, which are conventionally used for the spintronics devices, the antiferromagnet have small susceptibility and a no-stray field, which enable us to make a high dense memory. And also the high resonant frequency, which can be up to terahertz range, may open up the terahertz spintronics. So today's talk is all about the left-hand side. So as far as the antiferromagnetic memories are concerned, there have been several reports demonstrating electrical switching of the antiferromagnetic Neel orders. So as you can see all those results, we can see that the antiferromagnetic memory devices are kind of ready to go. Okay. However, the Neel vector in the antiferromagnetic does not seem to switch uniformly, but domain evolution is generally observed. So as you can see, this XMLD images for example, copper manganese arsenide and also the nickel oxide in some studies, from some studies. We can always observe this kind of domain, and then when we apply the electrical current, we see the evolution of domains like this. In my opinion, these domain evolution is not well understood. And even apart from the spin torque switching shown in this slide, domain evolution with even the simple external field is not well understood. So our question here is whether we can predict this antiferromagnetic domain behaviors by micromagnetic modeling. So we know that the micromagnetic modeling for the ferromagnets are well established and widely used. And then one might think that it is easy by simply setting the exchange constant to be negative for the antiferromagnetic simulation. However, this is not really true for simulating actual antiferromagnetic materials. So here I summarize the relevant parameters for ferromagnet and antiferromagnetic modeling. So the remarkable difference is that the dipole energy is zero, almost zero for the antiferromagnetic case. And the last section here, which is a crystallographic continuity due to the magnetoelastic effect. For the ferromagnetic case, this is often not considered. However, it is very important to consider this concept for the ferromagnet, antiferromagnets, in which the magnetism and crystalline symmetry are strongly coupled. So as far as I know, this concept is not already seriously taken into account in the conventional micromagnet simulation, even for the antiferromagnetic case. Okay. So in this study, we basically try to develop full-scale micromagnetic simulations for antiferromagnets and compare with the experimental observation in nickel oxide domain. So the outline of today's talk, first I will explain the 12 types of domains in nickel oxide in antiferromagnetic nickel oxide. And the second, I will show our experiment on of the XMLD-PEEM measurement, and then also the domain evolution with a high magnetic field. Okay, and the third, I'll talk about our novel micromagnetic antiferromagnetic micromagnet simulation to reproduce the experimental observations. Okay, first, the nickel oxide is based on the sodium chloride structure. The magnetic moments are basically on the nickel ion side. The magnetic moments lie in the 111 plane, and this magnetization antiferromagnetically coupled to the neighboring 111 plane. So due to the local dipole interaction between these two planes, actually there's an attractive force between 111 plane. This results in the rhombohedral contraction in the 111 direction perpendicular to the 111 plane. So we have a rhombohedral contraction below Neel temperature like this. So considering the cubic nature of the nickel oxide, this rhombohedral contraction can happen in 4 possible 111 planes. Okay, this and this and this. So therefore, we have 4 possible configurations as shown here, and a domain formed by this broken crystalline symmetry and the magnetic easy plane, so-called T domain. Since each T domain has its own rhombohedral strain, crystal continuity must be satisfied between T domains like this when we align all the like a unit cell that I showed in the last slide. Okay, like this. So by the way, T of the T domain actually comes from the crystal twinning like this due to this crystal continuity. So coming back to the 4 possible domain configurations, as you can notice, we color the boundary to visualize the crystal continuity. Okay, what I mean here is basically same color boundary connection keeps the crystal continuity, okay, and the different color connection does not satisfy the crystal continuity. Like this. And I also need to mention the so-called S domain. T domain defines the easy plane, but the action Neel vector has 3 degrees of freedom within the easy plane. This 1, 2, 3. So therefore, each T domain can have 3 possible S domains. Okay. So therefore, we have 4 T domains times 3 S domains. So in total, we have 12 different Neel vector orientation in this nickel oxide. Okay, so I just want to briefly show our experimental results. So we did an X-ray magnetic linear dichroism photo emission electron microscope measurement, so-called XMLD-PEEM measurement. The image are taken with the oxygen K edge and the nickel L2 edges, which correspond to the T domain contrast and S domain contrast like this. We then see the domain evolution with 22 Tesla of the external field. So I just want to note that this is an ex situ measurement, meaning that the magnetic field was applied outside the PEEM chamber. So therefore, we are basically looking at the remnant states after each field application. So we did this cycle basically. We observe a PEEM image, transfer to the magnet, and apply 22 Tesla, and then again transfer back to the PEEM chamber to observe the image. So as you can see, when we apply the field along the 010, 100 direction and the 010 direction, this pattern do not change too much. By the way, this black spots basically the dust sticking during the measurement. So it's not related to any magnetism. So you can basically focus this gray and the white pattern here. And then when we apply actually 110 direction, we see a remarkable change in the domain structure. And then when we apply the other 111 direction, we see again the dramatic change. So this is what we observed experimentally. So we want to basically simulate this domain pattern by our modeling. So I want to talk about the reproduction of the experimental observation by our simulation. Okay, to simplify the situation, basically we consider the domain in 2 dimensions because we only look at the surface of the 110 surface of the nickel oxide. So so we want to make this domain configuration into the basically 001 projection like this. Okay, just a top view of this this structure. So our simulation is based on these 4 potential energy considerations. We basically arrange those domain pieces in the coordinated positions and find an arrangement with a minimum total energy considering those 4 energy considerations. And then we also use a Monte Carlo algorithm to minimize the total energy of the system. And I will explain the detail of these 4 energies one by one in the following slides. So the first one is a boundary connection. So as we discussed in a few slides ago, we take basically this takes care of the crystal continuity. Here we define the potential energy UV like this way, where beta is a square root of exchange constant and easy plane anisotropy constant. And the B is a function which gives a minus unity when a neighboring connection or same boundary connection are satisfied. And otherwise, it's 0. Okay. For the T-domain connection, basically for the T-domain connection, the potential energy increases when neighboring T-domains are discrepant. So for instance, considering the boundary connection that one slide ago, these 2 pieces can be put in this empty space. But when we consider the T-domain connection, this T1 can be in when we consider the minimum energy. Okay, so this is a T-domain connection, and similarly, we define the potential energy like this. So the another one is S-domain connections. Similarly to the T-domain connection, the potential energy increases when neighboring S-domains are discrepant. So comparing to these 2 cases, the potential energy is lower in the right-hand case, where the Neel vectors are more like parallel to each other. The potential energy is defined like this, okay? Whereas here sigma is a square root of exchange constant and in-plane anisotropic constant. The last one is the Zeeman energy. Zeeman energy basically characterizes the Neel vector orientation with respect to the applied field. So the basically Zeeman energy is minimum when the Neel vector is perpendicular to the field. So again, the Zeeman energy term is defined like this. So to start reproducing the experimental observation, we need to start from constructing the initial pattern. So as I explained, there are multiple degeneracies for the domain configuration. Like we have 12 generalities in the for the domain configurations. The initial pattern cannot be predicted physically, but need to be constructed manually, basically. So this is a brief recipe to construct the initial pattern. First, we basically manually arrange the pieces to imitate experimental obtained pattern, like this. And make boundary connection energy and T-domain connection energy minimum while putting all those pieces. So resulting pattern can be like this, which is very, very similar. And it actually has a minimum total energy. And then calculate the XMLD-PEEM construct by using this equation. As you can see, these two are pretty much similar. And then starting from this initial pattern, here is a reproduction of the domain patterns after each external field application. This is a lower panel. So as you can see, we can reproduce very well the domain pattern after each field. For example, by applying like a field in the 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0 direction, we don't have too much change in the reproduced pattern. However, when we apply the field in 1, 1, 0 direction, we have almost similar pattern to the experimental obtained one. And in the other direction, we have similar, like these domains are in the similar to this experimental pattern. We also show this S domain pattern here, which are quite similar to the experimental observation. Okay, so I think it's time. I'd like to summarize my my talk today. So we experimentally investigate a numerically simulate the evolution of antiferromagnetic domains in nickel oxide 001 surface. So as you can see, we can really well simulate the domain pattern. The key is to include crystal continuity consideration in the micromagnetic simulation. Otherwise, conventional way cannot really do this type of simulation. And also, this concept can also be applied to the other ferromagnets with appropriate parameters. For instance, cobalt or manganese oxide, certainly we can apply the same concept to predict domain behavior. Okay, thank you very much for your attention.